Redditors, what started off as a small lie but then snowballed into this is my life now? My freshman year of college, I was walking around campus when a very friendly looking girl waved at me. I'm awkward. So of course I waved back. The next week, the same thing. This began the weirdest saga of my life. For the next 2 years, we greeted each other as old friends every time we came across the other. She knew my name, somehow. I never could figure hers out and it was way too late to ask. I just pretended I knew who she was and why she knew me. Finally, I joined the honors program and entered my classes for my thesis. Who should be in this class but mystery girl? I was horrified. I wouldn't be able to pass it off anymore. First day of class, we are all sitting there chatting and she greets me by name. Again. I had finally learned her name from attendance. Thank God. Someone asks. Finally. Oh. So do you two know each other? Where'd you meet? Silence. I stare at her. She stares at me. Finally she breaks down wailing. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. We've just been waving at each other for 2 years and it was too late to ask. She's standing in my wedding next spring as one of my bridesmaids and very best friends. Edit, I'm a chick. She's not 100% sure how she learned my name. Hi Ty. Love you dude. Told a small lie to a girl I was texting that I love running. Dunno how it sold because I was fat. Started running the second after I sent that. 5 years later I went from 298 to 180. Not bad. You dumbus. You should have told her you were a billionaire. Just kidding. Good job on the running. But seriously. A billionaire would have been better. Somebody thought I was Jewish and I didn't want to correct them because I hate confrontation. So now everyone in the school thinks I'm Jewish and my homeroom got me a Passover card signed by everyone. My brain told me it was time to stop but I didn't want to ruin the thought of the gesture. Your senior yearbook quote should be I'm not really Jewish. I became friends with one of the managers at Panera. One day as I was giving a cashier my order, he told her to give me the same discounts as they give to firemen, police and paramedics. I think he just chose this discount as it was an easy button to push on the register. Well, this cashier really thought I was a fireman. I'm not. So for the next 2 years this cashier gave me the discount. Even if she wasn't serving me, she would go out of her way to tell the cashier that was helping me. He's a fireman. Give him the discount. It snowballed into such an awkward situation that I didn't know how to get out of it. Luckily that cashier eventually transferred to another store and I now happily pay full price. My mother was a super control freak. So one of the ways I would avoid home was after school extracurriculars. I got the date wrong on a math team meeting. So I lied to my mom about it while actually attending the debate team intro meeting. I probably didn't need to lie, but it was always safer to not disrupt her precious schedule. Eventually, debate became a regular activity for me to avoid home. In 3 years, I was a state semifinalist and in college, I coached the high school national champions and turned that into a free ride for a master's degree. I have one. A good friend of mine did not have an umbrella on a very rainy day. One of her co-workers offered her a lift home. 1 lift home turned into 2. Then 3. Until he was shuttling her to and from work every day for months. This co-worker is also a very good baker. He would make these lovely cakes and pastries and offer them to her, which she politely took every day. Then one afternoon, on her way home, he stops and picks up his parents. He happily introduces her as his girlfriend. She was shocked by this title, to say the least. They proceeded to invite her to a family gathering over the long weekend to meet everyone. His parents. They were so nice. She accepted because she didn't have the heart to embarrass the guy. She went to the gathering, met with other family members, and he kept introducing her as his girlfriend. She never worked up the nerve to correct or stop him. Long story short, they are now married. Edit, I did not expect this type of response for this story. I will address some of your questions. Yes. This is a very real story. The man is incredibly socially awkward. He liked his co-worker for a long time. So driving her home and baking cakes was his way of working up the nerve to talk to a pretty girl. She always thought he was sweet and kind, but since he was never forward with his feelings, she only saw him as a friend. I am outside of the US, so there is a culture difference for some readers. However, this is still a bizarre courtship story in my country. After the family gathering, they sat down and had a long talk about their feelings and expectations, and he finally asked her out on a proper date. They went on to date for 2 years and have been happily married for the past 5 years. Some of you called it a romance between two socially awkward people. Good observations. I moved to a new city when I was in 6th grade, and on the same day I started, 2 other boys started, and they both knew how to skateboard. So I lied and said I did too. Then for months I lied about being able to skateboard to them and other kids at the school. And I never came clean because I didn't want anyone to call me a poser. So I bought skater boy clothes and a skateboard and learned how to skateboard because I lied about knowing how to skateboard. Still skating since then. I'm 27 now. An electrician came and priced up a job at our rental property. He greeted me with "Hi Ian. I've come to price some work up." I replied, "Yep. That's me. My name is not Ian. It's not even close to Ian." I was too British to correct him with his error, so I just went along with it. It's not the worst lie I've ever come out with. In my head I'm thinking, at worst the guy is just going to call me Ian again when he leaves. He was in my flat for a good 20 minutes, calling me Ian during conversations we had. Not once did I correct him. Just stayed in character as Ian. Weeks went by and he eventually came back to do the work at the flat. My MRS and me had the day off. I had forgotten about the whole Ian thing until that day. So I explained to her that if she talked to me that day to call me Ian. It's just easier. Living in a college town. Every year around spring graduation there's 1 or 2 I'm here to see my kid graduate. But I haven't been able to locate them families. Usually kids that stopped going, pocketed their parents' money, and or just gave up and couldn't handle telling the family. It ends sadly sometimes. That's a big lie deception to deal with and maintain. It almost always comes to a head. Not me but my dad. We moved and he was convinced the postman's name was Jer, as in short for Jerry. He greeted him by it nearly every day for about 10 years. We even gave him a Christmas card which he displayed down in the sorting office. Fast forward and we have a temporary postman. My mum asking him after a few weeks, "When is Jer coming back?" This was met with stunned silence and a puzzled look. With a resounding "Who is Jer? No one works in the locality by that name." Turns out, his name is Declan and he was too nice to correct my dad for close to a decade. Oh god. That's not even close. Once my boyfriend's mom asked me if I like their bathroom soap. It's lavender. I don't like lavender, but I decided to tell her I love it. It smells so good. Now I have an endless supply. She buys me some all the time. It's too sweet to tell her the truth, so I just keep it to myself and use the mediocre smelling soap. Oh well. This is how I live now. Edit. I will ask for different soap. I've been given plenty of encouragement. Thank you. Edit 2. I will really send you lavender stuff I have if you pay for shipping. PM me. Serious inquiries only. People picked on my brother in high school for getting jumped by some wannabe blood thugs in the bathroom. Popular thugs. If you can believe it. It was relentless. His confidence and any friendships were crushed. Cause, you know, people can't be seen with the loser. One day I was confronted by said thugs, basically talking it about my brother. And in my infinite wisdom, I said I could box so they better back off. Something to that effect. Looking back, I cringe. But you do what you have to. Needless to say, they did not back off. Somehow, I landed a punch on one of the kids that dislocated his jaw. Like, flapping around like a mouthpiece hanging from a football helmet. I became the kid who could box but never wanted to fight. Which I guess gave me credibility. I don't really know. Everyone and their hyena came to me asking where they could learn said boxing skills. How I'd learned by 16. All that crap. I'd wanted to just come out and say I had been lucky. But I didn't want anyone to give my brother it again. So the lie stayed. Luckily, no one ever picked on my brother afterwards. And I did eventually learn some boxing fundamentals. But most because I felt like I was living a lie. Which I was. As a man. I have not had to keep up the facade. Edit, this really blew up. I don't post or get on Reddit too much. And I never expected this to get as big as it did. Thanks to everyone who had kind things to say. A lot of people are saying that my parents were faulty in punishing me. And I understand where you are coming from. But they were good parents to me growing up and I never held it against them. They never had a bad opinion of me for doing it. I think they mostly punished me so that I wouldn't strut around school acting like Joe Cool. They eventually found out why I did it. And the lie I held throughout high school. And they were proud of me for doing what I did. To everyone who said I'm a good brother. Thank you. I was having a rough time commuting too far for work for a few months. Decided to quit to find something closer to home. But told everyone I had been approved to work from home. When I went to give my 2 weeks, my manager asked, "I know the driving has been killing you. How would you feel about working from home?" Work laptop to my left and watching Great British Masterclass as I type. Been working at home since then. Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty good with Excel. No I wasn't. And now I'm an analyst at a Fortune 400 company. Edit, I have to go back to work guys. It's been fun. Hey. That's winning right there. Congrats. Fake it till you make it and regret it but hide it but still have to fake it so you learn it and do it and get better at it and then when you feel like you've truthfully made it you get fired the end. I was looking for a job and I didn't want to be a fast food manager anymore so I fluffed out my resume with computer skills I didn't have. I was contacted by a recruiter who asked me some questions to gauge my abilities and I straight googled the answers as he was asking them. When I went to the interview, the boss had all of these circuit boards sitting all over his desk. I recognized them as Raspberry Pis from Reddit. So I asked what he was using them for. The rest of the interview was just this guy bragging about all of these projects he had going on. He might as well have been speaking Greek. I just feigned interest and said wow a lot. I'm hired. Who knows how this had happened but I have literally googled every problem I have been given. Day 543. They still think I know what I'm doing. I'm making 1.5 times what I was making as a manager. I have a get for Christ's sakes. Edit, thank you for my first gold kind stranger. Wasn't a drinker in high school so to shut down peer pressure I told them I was born with half a liver and drinking anything could make me very sick or kill me. The lie just became natural and followed me to college. Was out with some friends playing pool and decided to have a beer. When I came back, a buddy slapped it out of my hand thinking I was suicidal. Then the explanations began. I didn't want to go to dinner with the gang from work, including my boss. So I told them I was having dinner with my wife and her parents. I lied. I get home. Wife wants to go out to dinner. So we head to the restaurant. And just as we're getting near the door, I see the work gang with my loudmouth boss all piling out of their cars. What are odds of us picking the same restaurant? It busted. There was an old couple walking into the restaurant in front of us. I held the door for them and insisted they join us for dinner. They were quite perplexed, but accepted my offer of a free dinner. It was the most uncomfortable dinner ever. They had no clue who we were. None of us had any shared interests. They rushed through dinner, thanked us, and got the hell away from what I'm sure they thought were a couple of weirdos. A new co-worker of mine tried downplaying his day and eventually after me hounding him about why he didn't like celebrating, he eventually told me in confidence that his best friend was killed on his birthday and he hates thinking about it. Fast forward 8 years. This guy and I had become really good friends. Best friends. Lived together at one point. He was accepted into my friend group and I always made sure to downplay his day. His is 4 days after another friend. So we just did a group thing and never made a big deal about it. Finally someone got brave enough and wanted to talk to him about it. And he laughed and had no recollection of telling me that and said he was probably just screwing with me. He always wondered why no one wished him happy day. A dude I knew was giving this girl summit and she kicked him in the nuts. Okay. Extreme reaction. But such is life. He doubled over in pain. But since he was kind of a douche anyway, no one cared much. The next day, a Friday, his dad took him out of school for some reason. Then when he returned on Monday he learned that the big rumor was that his balls ruptured from the kick. And he had to get emergency surgery. Rather than correcting anyone, he went along with it. This went on for years. People made fun of him. And he just joked about it. There were idiotic songs people sung about him. He laughed about it. Never denied it once. In fact participated in some of the joking at times. Finally, one day about 3 years later he comes clean. She didn't even actually kick him in the balls. Just in the gut and it really knocked the wind out of him. After all this time, the dude who got kicked in the balls was basically his identity. Strange turn of events.